So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in the Caribbean. Traditional West Indian parents. And I was born into a Christian home on the island of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. One Sabbath after church, my parents were giving someone a ride home. And they got into a very bad car accident. And so the impact caused me to be ejected from my mother's arms, and I hit the dashboard, and I was only about 6 weeks old at the time, so it was a very bad blow to the back of my head. And so they took me to the emergency room. And they tested all my reflexes, and they told my parents that I was fine. They didn't see anything wrong with me, so they sent them home. But a few months later, my parents noticed that I was not making eye contact with them anymore. And so they took me back to the doctor, and they started running tests to see what was wrong with me. Then I was diagnosed with glaucoma. So as long as I can remember, I always had trouble seeing. Well, you know, my parents were the kind of parents that trusted and believed. And so they didn't want to just take that lying down. So they began to fast and pray. They took me to the pastor and had me anointed. But sometimes God doesn't give us what we ask for because He wants to give us something better. He does that with us quite often. And if we would have the faith to see it, we would thank God, even for our trials. And so now, you know, I look back and I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that I believe that my blindness turned out to be a great blessing. And the wonderful thing about it is that it didn't turn out just to be a blessing for me, but it turned out to be a blessing for others as well. That's the wonderful thing about God. You know, He just doesn't give you a blessing for you. He gives you a blessing so it can spill out onto somebody else. Amen. And so I began to grow up, and now I'm about 5 or 6, and I discovered that I had a little bit of a voice. So I began to sing in church. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. But you know, my young friends, they didn't really like it that much. So they began to, you know, just kind of tease me a little bit. Began to hate on, you know. And so I decided that I would not sing much at all, or that I would just either sing under my breath or just not sing. But then after that, you know, I remember one Sabbath, there was a lady that came to me and she said, "Well, Brother Peter." She didn't say it quite like that. So how come I didn't hear you in church today? I said, "Well, I was singing bass." And that ended my career as a singer for quite some time. Didn't sing much after that at all. And then when I was about 16 years old, I'm in high school now, I discovered that I had this voice again. And the way I discovered it was I tried out to sing at the Christmas concert, and I was amazed by the way people responded. And then I discovered, wow, I could get the girls. So see, we blind people, we're not different from anybody else. And so I unfortunately now, I'm doing the music for the wrong reasons, and it led me far from God. And so I left home, because now I'm older, and I already had gained some experience in singing in some of the nightclubs on the island, so I moved to Miami to go to school. And then I hooked up with some friends and began singing around town, Miami, on South Beach. Y'all good Christian folk. Y'all don't come out from South Beach. At least I hope not. We won't go there. But every once in a while, some of those old songs that I would sing in church as a little boy would come to my mind. Some of those old hymns. There's just something about those old hymns, man. You know what I love about those old hymns the most? Is that they teach the faith. I like to call this one my love song to Jesus. I want to sing this for you tonight. And I pray that you're blessed by this. So as I sing, just think about the love of God, how He has manifested His love to you. Express some love back to Him.